Hey everyone! Today we're going to be bringing you a video for low back pain, and the whole premise behind this is to engage your core, stretch out your hamstrings a little bit more, increase your upper body strength, that way you're maintaining a good posture throughout the day, especially when we're sitting at desks quite a bit or we might be standing at a workstation for a while. Our bodies are really designed to move. And when we aren't able to move every day, sometimes we can end up with these aches and pains that kind of create some issues down the road. And so this workout is designed more for mobility, to help you maintain normal posture and to facilitate proper movement patterns.
And one thing that we're going to be doing is targeting something called lower and upper cross syndrome. So this whole workout is designed to reverse that and help create a nice neutral posture.
Depending on your fitness level, this workout might be super easy or it might be challenging. So if you're on the challenging side, I would encourage you to not give up, to press in and to find time each day that you can begin to develop the strength and mobility to complete this easily. If it's already on the easy side, you can go ahead and make this workout more challenging by repeating it, by adding a timer, by going faster, by adding more weight. So really, no matter where you're at on the fitness spectrum, I hope you find this workout valuable to you. And if you know somebody that's struggling with low back pain, please share this with them, send this on to them, because I think it could really benefit them. I'm gonna get to be the joyful one that gets to do the workout today. And Andrew's gonna be my coach.
I'm gonna be your coach, and I'm gonna show you guys some really cool tips and keys to making sure that your workout looks as good as possible. We wanna focus on form. We don't wanna arch the back. We wanna make sure that our spine is in a nice neutral position. So again, a nice gentle curve in the low back, and our necks are up like this. So if we're ever squatting down, we don't want our squats to look like this. We want nice this. Backs are nice and straight and neutral. Okay?
I want to start with legs. I get lazy with my legs if I wait too long to do them, so we're going to start there.
Good.
We're going to go with 10 on each side of the side lunges, opposite hand to opposite ankle.
Yeah. So one thing that she's focused on here is, again, making sure that her back is neutral. We have some rotation going on in the back, so you can't see this, but I can, so I'm going to show you. When she's going like this, you want to make sure that this is not creating too much of a curvature in the low back. Nice, neutral. If we had a dowel, we want to make sure that the back of her head, the back of her shoulder blades, and her tailbone right there are all going to touch that dowel. We're not having too much deviation, flexion, or extension right there. So 10 each side, making sure we're balancing out, keeping sure that we're not over-engaging one side or the other. Fantastic.
16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Our next move is going to be isolated lunges.
An iso lunge is a great way, again, to target those glutes. This is also a great way to kind of individualize and create unilateral movement. So a lot of times people want to just say, I want to squat down and just do both legs. It's great, but sometimes it's good to get individualized work and really focus on that left glute right there. That extension, again, same thing. We're working on a nice neutral spine. Head's not flexed forward. Hips are not rotated too much one way or the other. Nice and neutral. She's going back not to rest on her knee, but basically say kind of just have just leave a paper amount thin layer between her knee and the floor. So she's barely touching the floor, not resting down, coming back up, getting that nice contraction. Fantastic. And if you want, you can put your hands on your hips. You can do opposite hand, knee like that. Either way, again, we're developing that cross pattern. It's good too. Next one she's gonna do is sumo squats.
We're gonna do, I did 10 of the isolated lunges. We're gonna go 10 sumo squats now.
So sumo squat, same thing. Neutral spine. You're gonna hear me say that every single exercise. Your spine is the core of your body. Everything relates. Your extremities, they all relate from the center, right? So we want to make sure that that's neutral. Here she's having a slight external rotation of her feet. That just helps give your femoral heads a little bit more room than if you were just facing straight forward. So instead of knees right here, we're having knees out here, down. You want to make sure you're breaking about parallel with your thighs.
So that's the leg portion. We're going to repeat that 1 to 2 more times. I'm going to do one more time just for this video so you can kind of get a picture of speed.
And as she's doing this, I'll kind of walk you through some variations that you can do. So a really easy way to make this a tougher workout is instead of doing reps, do it for time. Again, making sure you're focusing on your form, but say, hey, for 30 seconds, I'm going to do these 4 different exercises, or these 3 different exercises that we did, and do as many as you can in 30 seconds, take a 10-second break, go to the next one, and do that through 2 or 3 times. It's a really great way to get a good heart rate increased circuit. You're getting some cardio in there as well because you're doing it quickly. But again, as soon as you got to be mindful about that spine, that form. As soon as that form breaks, you're going to create an abnormal movement pattern. So, take a little bit of break there, and then she's going to go back into it. Again, same thing. Barely touching. She's not resting at the bottom. She's engaging. That front knee is not going past those toes. It's another great thing to look at too. She's a great workout model, so she's gonna give you great mobility.
And this is also where you could start to add weights if this feels too easy for you.
You could do a bilateral or both hands having a loaded weight right here with some dumbbells, or even some soup cans, or even a couple books or backpacks if you don't have an access to that right now. Or you can do one side. If you're gonna do one-sided weight, I would recommend doing the opposite hand of the foot that's forward weight. And same thing with this. You can add what's called a goblet hold, or you could have like a goblet squat, a goblet sumo squat. You could have some weight in the front right here. Say if you have a dumbbell, hold it between two hands and drop down. Really easy to make that a little more.
That's the leg portion. You can feel free to repeat that again if that's not burning you just yet. But otherwise, we're gonna move on to the next section. We're gonna move on to core today.
Core.
Yep.
Core is so good. You actually should be engaging your core in pretty much everything you do. So every squat you're doing, you want to make sure that you're keeping a nice tight neutral. Your core actually goes around to the back side of your back too. Helps protect the spine. So again, we mentioned these are kind of more over-engaged and these are under-engaged. So we're going to make sure we're going to kind of focus more right here on the front. She's doing, I believe these are what?
These are called dead bugs.
Dead bugs. What she's doing here is she's coming back to a neutral position where her hands and her feet are both up, and she's doing an opposite or cross pattern where her opposite hand, opposite leg are both extending out. You can do this with your toe touching the ground right there, with your hand going out. You can do straight legs if you wanted to. If you want to make it a little more difficult, I want to show my straight leg. So straight leg right here, a little more control there. Eat whatever your preference or your level of activity wise is fantastic. Again, she's making sure she's keeping her lower back nice and flat against the ground, trying to make sure she's really engaging and keeping a tight core to help protect not just her lower back, but also the rest of her pelvis from firing correctly. So. And how many are you doing those each side?
I did 10 each side,
okay.
So 20 total.
We like doing sticking with easy numbers. Again, 10, 10, 10 is pretty easy. Now she's going to be doing some Supermans. So Superman holds are great to, again, make sure we're strengthening the lower back right here. I know we mentioned that gets over-engaged in lower cross syndrome, but it's actually something that can be improperly overly engaged. You want to make sure we keep that strong there, because if they're not engaged correctly and again have a good posture and pelvic tilt, it can create a lot of tension in the low back. So right here she's basically keeping her core, her stomach on the ground, lifting up her legs and her arms at the same time. You can do a lot of variations with this as well, doing opposite hand, opposite leg if you want to. She probably did what, 20 of those?
Yeah.
Yep.
20.
20 of those. Last one we're going to do is some plank variations. So planks are another great thing because it requires not just the front part of your core, the entirety of your core, your low back, your obliques, your abdominal rectus abdominis, they're all getting engaged. And think of it as your body as a cylinder, and you're compressing the cylinder, not flexing forward, you're compressing. You're bringing basically your pelvis up to meet your rib cage. That's created a nice tight band across the entirety. You can do variations. You can just hold it if you want to. You can go on in a plank push-up position where your hands are down. You can do on your elbows. You can do leg lifts. You can do side planks. You can do roll unders. You can do a lot of variations, and it's a great activity to add into pretty much anything you do. So you can do that. A T plank. Opening up, you can rotate on your heels right there. A lot of variations. We recommend, again, holding this, maybe starting off at 30 seconds. If you can do it a minute, it's great. You can do commando push-ups, where you're doing basically a plank, but you're coming down to your elbows opposite, and going back up, coming back down, going back up, and going back down.
Options are endless, but hold for about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Dead bug too, I just want to point out, because I'm not putting my hands behind my head and using my neck to engage my core. Instead, I'm forcing my core to do all of the work, and I'm not recruiting other muscles. So a dead bug's a really great way to isolate your core.
Absolutely. Could not agree more.
do glutes next.
Glutes. All right. I was just thinking about that.
Your glutes are your pelvic stabilizer. So every time you take a step, it's making sure your hip doesn't dip.
A lot of times we see this with a lot of different runners or athletes who do a lot of repetitive motion. We see sometimes that glute aren't firing correctly, and so a lot of times we'll recommend these exercises for people to make sure we're engaging the glutes and not allowing other muscles to get recruited and do that hip extension. A lot of times your hamstrings, your IT bands can over-engage and make sure, again, those glutes are not firing. We don't want that. So what she's doing right here is a banded crab walk. What this is doing is she's basically creating tension where her legs are being pushed in and she's laterally stepping. She's working a muscle called your tensor fasciae lata. This is a really small muscle. Also, her glute medius a little bit helps with the external movement or the abduction of the leg this way. And she's also squatting out, so she's getting stabilizing her core with her legs, basically hitting quads, the hamstrings, the glutes. We're also laterally moving with resistance. It's a great exercise to engage those cores. She's got now quadruped. So same thing as what we were doing with the dead bug, but now we are prone, we are face down instead of supine. Doing opposite hand, opposite leg. Again, in this quadruped position, start with hands and knees, extending right hand, left leg back. She's actually bringing her elbow and her wrist down to the opposite knee and bringing it forward. It's great, again, to make sure that this lower back is not tipping, not dipping at all. If I had a cup of water right there, it should not spill. That's the whole point. You want nice balance. If I had this paper right here, it's not going to roll off. It's going to stay right there. Even with the wind right now, it's going to stay right there. It's fantastic. And again, good extension right there. She's making sure that this basically should go out to become a nice extension of her core. Nice straight line. You don't want to dip too high up, too low. Make sure that's right there. So those are again, quadruped.
10 each side.
10 each side. The last one she has is bridges. You can make this as easy as you need to. We're doing basically a banded bridge right here. Again, she's doing a hip extension. What this means is that she's keeping her hips nice and tight and nice and neutral. She's not doing that. She's keeping her shoulders on the ground, stabilizing that. She's engaging those glutes to fire and stabilize that hip right there, even with her back. Fantastic form. We have arms. Push-ups is a great example. You want to make sure that your hands are not too high up, too low down, right over top of the armpits. You can get wider if you want to do more of a back workout when you're pressing up and coming back down. You can do negatives, which are basically you're going to hold isometrically at the top and then slowly bring yourself back down. It's a great way to do that. But again, make sure she's making a nice neutral spine the whole time. But make sure you're not dipping or rounding up too much. You can do 10, 15 reps, whatever is easiest for you. So rows, this is really one you got to be careful of. What she's doing is she's bending over slightly, again keeping a nice neutral spine, and she's going to pull her elbows back and around behind her. She's pulling back behind her like this. And what she's doing is she's engaging the muscles between her shoulder blades. Those are the muscles that get turned off when we roll forward. Those lower muscles right here, they don't get activated. And so one way we can do is help to create a neutral shoulder is by engaging those. So the rule of thumb when you're doing an upper body workout, a chest or arm workout, is if you're going to do a push, which is okay, you should be doing pushing, make sure you're doing double the amount of pulling that you are pushing. So if you're going to do 10 push-ups, do 20 rows. Okay, so this next one we're going to do is called a chest opener. And this is, again, one thing we're going to do is we're going to promote extension and rotation behind here. So you basically want to make sure you're taking your shoulder blade and you're pulling it back together. So she's used a band. You can use, again, you can use weights. You can do this unweighted if you want. You have palms up. And slowly, again, we're not arching our back, we're keeping our back nice and neutral. She's pulling her arms around to the end range of motion where it's comfortable. Again, great way to kind of engage your rotator cuff, your posterior chain right there in that lower between the shoulder blades. So that's her arm circuit.
only as good as your last recovery.
Love that.
Said a wise man. So we're gonna stretch it out.
And one of the things that we're going to do, we're focusing on those areas that we talked about. We want to stretch, again, stretching right here in the front. These are super tight right here, super tight right here. Doesn't mean that they're too strong. It means that they're overly activated. So we want to make sure we're allowing the muscles to become elastic and come back to a normal, not just be tight, but allow it to come back and relax. She's doing a hip flexor stretch. We kind of call this the marriage proposal. She's down on one knee. Just making sure that this front knee right here is over top of her foot or her ankle. It's not too far forward. It's not going to be on top of her toes. It's right there. And she's putting her back leg as far back as she can. Getting a nice front stretch and straight right there. She's also modifying it if you need to. Again, you're making sure your belly button's not opening up too much to the left side. It's pointing straight forward. Your hips are nice and stacked. And then if that's not tight enough for you, that's not a deep enough stretch, you can then lift the same side hand and again overhead. And as you do that, the last final movement is to make sure you're tucking your pelvis. You're going to bring your pelvis or your belt buckle, your belt loop up towards your abdominals and your rib cage. It's going to help pull that hip flexor, create a nice stretch and strain right there. Great. Again, I recommend you hold it anywhere from 10 to 20 seconds and repeat a couple times to kind of get deeper and deeper.
You want me to do runner stretch or banded?
Banded. Next thing she's going to do, she's going to do a hamstring stretch. This is great to do. It's easy with a partner. If you don't have a partner, this is a really bad way to look at it because Kate's going to be way too easy. Yeah, so maybe I should show a hamstring stretch. I don't know. For most normal people are going to have a hamstring that allows them to go maybe right there. Normal is about 90. Most people are probably right here. Kate can go probably 170 degrees with her hamstrings. What you want to do is you want to pull the hamstring until it gets tight, until it reaches its end range of motion. If you have a band, you can do that and hold that right there. And what you're going to do is you're going to engage and push your foot this way. So she's pushing her foot against resistance to engage that hamstring. Again, hold that for about 10 seconds and relax the hamstring and pull a little bit tighter, a little bit deeper. But make sure you're keeping your leg and your knee straight, fully extended, not bent. As soon as you bend your knee right there, take all the pressure and the stretch out of your hamstring and put it elsewhere. That's all you want. So again, hold that 10 seconds or so, relax, get deeper, pull it a little bit deeper. Do both legs. So this is her actual flexibility right there. Sorry, that's her actual flexibility right there.
That's actually not even my actual flexibility. I need to use my hand.
Sorry, that's her actual flexibility right there.
Okay.
A lot of times, your glutes are made up into several different muscles. We have your glute max, medius, minimus. You have your tensor fasciae lata. You have something called your piriformis, which is the base of your buttock that you sit on. It's a very commonly tight and overly engaged muscle. So my wife's doing something called a pigeon pose. Now, pigeon pose is great because it's going to target this area, again, right at the base of the buttock. You're going to keep your leg as flat as you can and bring your shin almost like a figure four across your body. Now, not everybody has access to that, like my wife does. But what you want to do is you want to get once your foot is down across your body, bring your chest as low to the ground as you can. If you're like me, maybe not like Kate, and you can do this and you're only right about there, it's okay. If that's as tight as you can go, that's okay. There's other ways you can do it too. I'll show you the modification when you're on your back. If that's too hard for you, an easier way to do it is, again, the same thing. You're going to take your leg over, cross your leg over top of your knee, and then pull your legs together, pulling both of them towards you. It's the same exact thing. It's a little bit easier to get into and not as crazy of a position. Again, if you don't have access to that level of mobility yet, it's okay. Again, hold for about 10 seconds, relax, get a little bit deeper, and do that 2 or 3 times.
Calf stretch. Want me to do down dog or off the side of the stair?
Both. Let's do down dog first. So, is this the last one we're going to do?
I think I have 5 stretches. I think I have one more, but I'm not quite sure.
Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is something called a down dog, but this is, again, a yoga position. What we're doing here specifically is we're targeting the posterior chain, her hamstrings, down to her calf specifically. The closer you can get your heel to the ground in this position, the better the stretch is going to be. So sometimes if you're like me, not like Kate, you don't have the flexibility, it's easy to walk your feet and kind of pedal your feet. So Kate showed that. When you're pedaling your feet, you can kind of slowly push one leg at a time back. Again, I wouldn't stay in this position for more than 30 seconds at a time. Just kind of slowly ease your back in there. And the last thing we're doing right here is a nice child's pose. This is great to open up the lower back You can even add in a little bit of rotation where you're gonna bring one hand over and kind of walk your hands that way. It's great to get the lower lats and then bring your arm through. We call it kind of pulling, threading it through the needle right there. It's great to get a little bit of rotation, open things up. We recommend that you do these isometric kind of holds and these slower positions after you've done your exercise to do more dynamic movement and warming up beforehand, and these static positions and these static holds after. It's a great way to kind of, again, respond and recover from the workout. You're bringing elasticity back into your muscles and allowing you to recover, so that way you can go and crush your next workout.
Hope you enjoyed it and hope you found it helpful. See you in the next video. Bye.